from the Salvation Army National Headquarters, this is the Fight for Good podcast.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Fight for Good podcast. I'm your host, Lieutenant Colonel Tim Foley. We're broadcasting here from our offices at the Salvation Army National Headquarters in Alexandria, Virginia. And today with me is the assistant to the editorial director, Michelle Caceres. Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
Now, I understand from our executive producer, Elizabeth, that today this is like the best podcast ever that we have done here on Fight for Good. Would you be in agreement with that?
Yes, I would concur with Elizabeth's statement.
I agree with myself.
Well, now hold on. Hold on. I didn't invite you into the conversation yet.
I'm hyped.
Why? You got to tell our listeners why you're so hyped about this interview today and why you think this is the best interview ever.
This is the best interview ever because Michelle spoke, I was on the line, to Carlos and Alexa PenaVega. I'm talking Carlos from Big Time Rush and Alexa of Spy Kids. I mean, this is this is huge.
And for those of you that are my age that have no clue, you just ask your grown adult children and they'll let you know who these folks are. I guess they're pretty exciting. And Michelle, it was a pretty exciting interview that you had.
Yeah, it was awesome. And like Elizabeth shared, Carlos was on the Nickelodeon TV show Big Time Rush, and Alexa was in the movie Spy Kids. And if you are a millennial, you grew up watching both of those. And they're married now and they have children together. And it is just the most perfect Hollywood couple you could ever imagine.
So what makes them different from other Hollywood couples and Hollywood actors?
So in the interview, you'll hear a lot about how they kind of make their marriage work. And it's just very different from typical Hollywood relationships. They never take jobs where they're both on different jobs and they're apart or away from their kids and apart from each other. They always allow one person to be on a job at a time. They also have kind of directed to more wholesome content. They don't really agree with a lot of what is shown in Hollywood because a lot of that might be kind of inappropriate for children, yet you have children on those type of projects, and that's just not something that they really want to promote. So they're very selective with what they agree to do. And then on top of that too, they moved to Hawaii to get out of LA when they found out Alexa was pregnant. You hear in the interview that Carlos was totally joking when he suggested moving to Hawaii. But after Alexa kind of looked at the schools and just what was around them, they realized, yeah, no, we're going to raise little island babies together. And they moved to Hawaii and they come back for work, but pretty much they've never been back.
Now, from a logistics point of view, how in the world did you keep our producer out of the interview? Did you have to kind of like push her out, or was she just kind of like jumping in?
No. Elizabeth was on the line, and I definitely need her on the line in case anything happened or if we got disconnected by any means. But I also knew that she was a big fan, so I wanted her to be a part of it. And it was awesome. And you could just hear the giddiness in her voice, how excited she was.
Elizabeth, will you ever be the same after your experience with the PenaVegas?
I think it's impossible to go back to who I was before.
They were really nice. They were
nice.
The most down to earth. Their kids had woken up from a nap, and it was just so cute to hear them kind of in the background that we actually asked them if it was okay if we left that in the full interview, because it just kind of tied together the whole, we're actors, we're parents, we're a married couple. This is life. This is what's going to happen. It just kind of tied in so perfectly to the whole interview. It was just great.
We encourage you to give a listen to Michelle's interview with Carlos and Alexa PenaVega.
Before we start, I have a very serious question for Alexa.
Okay.
Okay, the world needs to know, all right?
Oh, no.
Were the Thumb Thumbs and Spy Kids real actors, or was it CGI?
No, they actually made these Thumb Thumb suits, and there were people walking around in the Thumb Thumb suits, and they were as creepy in person as they were on screen.
I just had to know.
Yeah, no, they some of them were CGI, but for the most part, they were actually made.
That is amazing, because I think every kid our age just has to know. I obviously gushed about this interview all week, and my boyfriend was like, "Can you ask about the Thumb Thumbs? This
Yeah.
is a serious interview." He's like, "I
Listen,
really
this
want to
is a
know."
very important question. It's a very important question. Yeah, no, the Thumb Thumbs were actually real, and I got to go in one for the first movie. They put me in one, but they were so large that I had to be laying on the floor. I couldn't actually walk around.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Was
Yeah.
it like super hot? Like, I feel like it'd be like a mascot suit
Oh
almost.
my gosh, yeah, I think it was even thicker than a mascot suit because it wasn't intended to be worn all day long and running around in. So it was this very, very thick, kind of like, like a rubbery material. Very strange, very weird.
Yeah, that does sound weird. Well,
I
that
know.
is a great introduction to who we're interviewing today. We're here with Alexa and Carlos. Go ahead and tell us a bit about yourselves.
Well, what's up, guys? My name is Alexa PenaVega.
And my name is Carlos PenaVega, and we've done this intro many times. That's why we know how to bounce off each other. No, I'm kidding, but not really. We are we're two. What do you say? We're actors. We're entrepreneurs. We love Jesus, and actually, I should say we love Jesus.
And we're actors.
We're actors. We're entrepreneurs. And we are parents. Actually, no, I should change that again. The order is just crazy.
Goodness.
No, you know what? We love God, we love life, and we are just here to
Spread light and positivity.
That's amazing. And how did you two meet?
We actually met at Bible study in California.
yeah, but it doesn't really. I mean, like it sounds good like that, but if you really dig into it, it's kind of like what?
We were both in interesting points of our lives.
Yeah, and
but we met up with a very important purpose.
exactly.
And did you guys know about each other prior to meeting?
You know what? I had known of her. You know, I just knew her as this chick from Spy Kids, and I was not into. I never thought she was cute. I kind of always thought that she looked like Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Thanks, babe.
And I was just like, no, not my type.
Hold on. As a kid, though.
Yeah. Now you just look like my friend Greg. No,
Wow,
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Carlos,
I'm kidding. But there is an uncanny resemblance.
Oh my gosh.
No. We did not know each other, but I knew of her. She had no idea who I was, and we met, and I was just totally what's the word? Smitten by her, and I started quoting Spice Girls, Spy Kids lines to her, and she was not having it. I know that she told my friend, our mutual friend, she told him, "What's wrong with that guy? He's weird."
I didn't think you were that weird. I was just like, what a dork.
So did you have to like kind of build up to get to a relationship or like to ask her out?
You know what? I think I can speak for a lot of guys. We like things to move quick. Alexa was not one of those girls. She wanted to be friends first, friends second, friends third, and friends fourth. It was just like, let's just be friends. But you know, I was persistent, and you know, we actually started hanging out every Sunday at church. So she would pick me up, and we would drive to church together. And that's kind of how we started our whole relationship. You know, I had never been to a Bible study. I went to my first one. I met Alexa, and then we started going to church together. So it's really cool that our whole entire relationship has kind of started in our faith.
And sorry, just another question. When you guys went to Bible study, so you guys weren't dating yet, what led you to that specific Bible study?
So, okay, our friend Andrew is just incredible. He's the most giving person we've ever met. Just, we can go on and on about Andrew. I've known Andrew since I was 13 years old. Carlos has known him since you were like 18?
Yeah.
18. But it's so funny because Andrew had brought up Carlos's name a few times, but I didn't know who he was, but he always knew that we would be very compatible. He just always said, you guys have to meet. You guys just have to meet. But, the timing never worked out. We were either in other relationships or just not ready to talk at all. So, Andrew had invited me to his Bible study quite a few times. It was a Bible study at his house that he led. And, just this one particular time, I decided, you know what, I'll go check it out. And this is after a couple years of him having this Bible study that I finally decided to go. And it just so happened to be the night Carlos showed up as well.
And I actually was there. I'd been invited by an ex-girlfriend. And I was thinking, well, maybe if I show up to this thing, I could rekindle, we could rekindle our relationship, and I knew about, like I grew up in the church, but, I think a lot of us have grown up in the church and like, what does that really mean? Like, what kind of relationship do we have? So I was like, yeah, I'll go to this Bible study. And it's just crazy how, I ended up meeting Alexa, and it was one thing led to another. And now we have 2 kids 7 years later.
That's amazing. What is your favorite characteristic about each other?
I would say Carlos has this awesome childlike personality. And I mean that in the absolute greatest way. He is so joyful and just so still like in awe of the things around him, and just he's never afraid to have fun. And I know that's something that as we get older, as we become parents, it's so easy to kind of get into this routine and this kind of where it's like a little harder to just laugh and let go a little bit. And he is never afraid to laugh and let go. And it just brings so much joy to my life and always kind of lightens the mood, which is really awesome.
For me, it's that Alexa always has really great things to say about me. No, you know what? She's always so positive, and
to a fault.
and she will defend the what's the word I'm looking for? She will defend any like if we're debating 2 sides and clearly one side is wrong, she will try and find every reason. Well, maybe they did this because of this, or maybe it's because of this, or maybe it's. And I'm like, oh my gosh, can you just agree with me for 2 seconds? And she's like, I agree with you, but I want to see what these people are feeling. And it's just, it's really,
like I said, to a fault.
No. It's really something that is, super unique to her. I have not met anybody else who is like that. Most people will just cave and have no problem siding with me.
And while you guys, were working in Hollywood and everything, how did you guys find time for each other? Like in the very beginning of your relationship?
Bible study in church, like Carlos said, that really paved the way for us. And it was just the starting point of our relationship. So a lot of our conversations would revolve around that. But then from there, I would say we were just, I know the normal thing in relationships is you go to work and then, if you have time, then you see each other. But we were truly inseparable. I actually remembered this moment that we were walking into a mall and there was this lady coming through the door, and Carlos, I went to let go of his hand to let her through, and he squeezed my hand harder and he said, sorry, ma'am, we're inseparable, and pushed his way through. And it was so funny because it was true. I would go to his set and spend time with him there. And if I had to fly out for a shoot, he would, fly in and come visit me. And, we made that time for one another, even when it felt like there wasn't a lot of time.
Yeah.
And
I don't understand these people in relationships in our industry. And they're like, okay, well, I'm leaving my husband for 6 weeks. And I'm like, what? Well, he has to work, and I'm like, but then what, I get it. People have different professions, but then what's the point of being in a relationship if you're going to be apart from each other for so long and it's a choice, It's
right.
not a choice, but you're choosing to say, hey, listen, I'm going to take this gig. You have to do yours. That's really hard. I mean, that cannot be healthy on any relationship.
Well, I mean, think of how long Spy Kids took to film. 6 months. All these huge movies take about 6 months to shoot. So you're literally looking at spouses who are leaving.
Well, and you know, not to, and this can be for a whole nother podcast, but like, not to mention, you know, sometimes, for the most part, all these movies and these roles, they require you to be, I mean, we've taken a stance on the type of roles that we take, but a lot of these roles require you to be intimate with, you know, your co-star. So imagine being away from your, you know, significant other for 8 weeks, but yet you're, you know, on set and you're flirting for 8 weeks with this other like, it's just, it's not conducive to a healthy relationship.
And so when you guys were dating, were you still on Big Time Rush?
I was, and we shot at a Paramount Studios, and Alexa would, you know, she would come probably every other day and hang out. She loves being on set. I'm the type of person that I'm like, if I don't have to be on set, like, send me home. Alexa's like, I'll just sit around. She just, you know, she just grew up doing that, so she just loves being in that atmosphere.
It kind of feels like a second home.
Right. And that's all in California, right? Where
Mhm.
you guys were living? Okay.
Yes.
And would you say that as your relationship started to develop, would you say that the projects that you started to take on, did you guys kind of balance it out between the both of you? Or like, did you ever take a project at the same time that would inevitably pull you guys away?
In the beginning, yeah. You know, in the beginning, we were still navigating
what it was that we were doing.
Well, I think we were doing two things. We were both in kind of growing our relationship, but at the same time also growing our relationship with God and our faith. So we started, you know, looking at our careers a little differently. If you look at the roles that I was taking back then versus the roles that I take now, they look very different because we set new boundaries for ourselves. We set new boundaries in our relationship, and you could see that progression throughout that time. But I would say right off the bat, not everything didn't just change at once. We still kind of had our careers. We were navigating how to make them coincide with one another. But it was just kind of the beginning of navigating it all.
Yeah. And then on top of that, then when you guys were first navigating that all, and then you guys finally figured out where your relationship was and how you were going to take on those projects, did any projects that you take on reflect your faith or beliefs?
Oh, interesting. You know, I worked on a film called Do You Believe? And I'm so sad that Carlos couldn't do that because the guy who played my boyfriend in the movie, or the kind of love interest, his name was Carlos. So I thought how perfect it was. But the kid was so sweet, and he was wonderful to work with. But you know, that movie was a faith-based movie, and I really enjoyed being a part of that. I think the one thing that's kind of a struggle that we both will hopefully one day kind of fill that void is the fact that, like, look, you have fantastic Christian movies out there that are so nice that you can bring home and you can put on your TV for the whole family, and I love that. But I also think a lot of times it's very unrealistic to what actually goes on in Christian households and in Christian lives, because we're not perfect people. Like, we mess up, we fail daily, and we're constantly trying to better ourselves. And I feel like a lot of the Christian movies out there, you know, they cater to the Christian audience, but how do you make worldly content but with kingdom hearted background, basically? So our goal is to one day create content for the world, but that comes from a kingdom heart, so everyone can see it, everyone can enjoy it, but it's all based on Jesus, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's no need. Like, I can tell you how many times I get onto you know, a project, and you know, I have to have the conversation. I'm like, hey, I don't want to say GD. I know that my character says it. Is there any way that I can't? And you know, I have to have that conversation. And ultimately, I've been lucky, you know, fortunate enough that, you know, I've been given that pass to not say it. But it's like, is there a need for it? And that's always my question. I'm like, why are we, cursing all this stuff? Like, what if a kid watches this? Oh, well, kids are saying these type of things. I'm like, kids are saying these type of things because it's what
Is allowed.
yeah, yeah, and it's what they're seeing. So it's been interesting and fun to try and find a balance. And
Yeah.
like the projects that we take are definitely
Lighter.
and I don't know, it just feels good. I don't go to work anymore, and I'm like, oh wow, I'm doing this scene today, and oh man.
Well, I honestly, I feel like I have this mindset now because you can do a movie. Like here's the truth. You can do a real movie about drug addiction. You can do a movie about, even like infidelity in marriage. And you can do those movies, but I want to know at the end of the movie, what is the outcome? What is the takeaway? Because the problem I feel like is a lot of these projects nowadays glorify drugs. They glorify infidelity in marriage. Like they're doing so many things to glorify the sin as opposed to like, wow, they really came through this obstacle and this movie ended up being such an encouragement, such a light. So
or you have this awesome story of redemption, but it's filled with drug, sex. Like it's just like this crazy thing that a 16-year-old shouldn't be watching.
Right.
So if it's got this awesome story of redemption, why don't we make it so that a 16-year-old can watch it and go, oh my gosh, that was so powerful, that was so moving. Not, what did I just watch? Like this guy just did this to this and this and this. So I think that there's a balance, and we're fighting hard to bring that line a little closer to the other side.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's also something that we struggle here, at War Cry, because we are a Christian publication, but we do want to talk about those topics, but we never want to offend somebody. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the goal isn't to shame anyone ever, but it's also to have real conversations. And we don't want to make people uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, the Bible is actually a very uncomfortable read. Like God didn't make it like to be just like cupcakes and rainbows. There are real issues, and the Bible, can be very offensive at times, but it's real and it's truth, and you have to know that going in when you're reading it. So as much as at the end of the day we don't ever want to be offensive or we don't ever want to be hurtful, God didn't intend us to be people pleasers. He intended us to be speakers of truth. And that's all we can do.
Preach.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I like the way you worded that.
Thank you.
So, sorry, just another random question. Okay, Carlos, your last name is Pena. Alexa, your last name is Vega.
Yes.
And you guys just made your own last name?
Yeah, it worked.
Did you guys like legally change it, or was that just something that like you started on social media?
No, so it was it's all legally changed. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
We went to the Ventura County, the office, whatever.
To get like the marriage certificate.
Yeah, and they were like, so who's taking whose last name, whatever. So we went off to the corner and wrote it, and I just put PenaVega as one word, and I said, I wonder if this will work,
We'll see if they let us do it.
We'll see, let us do it, right? Because normally it has to be someone taking, someone's last name, and then it's at the end of the name. So we filled out all the information, and the lady grabbed it, and she looked at it, and she looked at us, and she looked at it, and she gave us the stamp. And once you have that stamp, you can change your
Social
Security, your license, your passport, just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So yeah, it all changed, and now
we were like, it worked.
We're like, we're the PenaVegas now.
And then, do you capitalize the V in the middle of it?
It just depends on how Alexa's feeling.
Oh my God, that's so stupid. No, I mean,
Sorry.
Our
That's okay.
I usually do capitalize it just because I kind of like the look of it, to be honest. But I don't really care. The name is PenaVega. It's not separated. It is one.
I know. I've had people be like, you let her take the second half of the name. I was like, dude, does Vega Pena really sound great? I was like, no.
Yeah. It does. It rolls off the tongue. I mean, I had to triple check. I'm like, no, this is definitely, they had 2 different last names at one point.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a new name.
Just made it one word.
And I haven't found another one out there. So I think we're the first.
It.
I think we created it.
I like it.
we honestly, we love our families, but we both come from, kooky families. For us, we just wanted a fresh start. We just thought, you know what, we are going to start over. We're gonna, we're leaping into our faith. We're leaping into this family, and we should just start something brand new and start fresh. And that's where PenaVega came from.
I like it. And with that start fresh, you guys also moved to Hawaii.
We did.
Yes, terrible place.
Oh my God.
What made you guys decide to move there?
The sun, the beach.
Carlos.
No, I'm just kidding.
Right, because you can't get that in California.
Right. Well, hey, the beaches in California are complete. Like someone took me to the beach. I'm from Florida. They took me to the beach in California, and they were like, "Welcome to the beach." I was like, "What is this?" I was like, the water is brown. It is cold. Like, no, I'm out of here. No, but I'd always been in love with Maui and wanted to move here. And Alexa was not about that. She loved Los Angeles, and she's like, I can't leave here. And then we had our first kid, and she was sitting down with me, and we were just like looking at the like where the world was and the schooling and this, and we just said, man, we got to find something else. So I remember I just like one morning, I'm like leaving for the gym, and I said, hey, what if we just moved to Maui? And she was like, I'm in. And I just kind of laughed, and I was like, okay. So then I left, and I got in my car, and I thought about it for a second, and I ran back inside, and I said, were you saying like I'm in, like sure, why not? Or like, yes, let's do this. Like, let's go. And she was like, let's go. And I told her, I said, as soon as I walk out this door, I'm going to call our realtor and tell him to sell the house, and like, we're going. So if this is for real, I'm going to put everything in motion. And she's like, this is for real. I literally got in the car, drove to the gym. I don't think I worked out. I think I got on the phone and called people, and I was like, we're moving to Maui. And that and that's literally how it happened. Everyone thought we were crazy. Everyone thought we were nuts.
We were in Maui like 2 months later.
Yeah. Well, like 3 months. Yeah.
And you guys said you have 2 children. Do you two have similar parenting styles?
Yeah, I mean, other than the fact that Alexa has so much more patience. So much more patience, is that right? She has much more patience than I do. But I think it's a good balance. I was raised in a very Spanish family where it's like, you only get one chance. Like, come on, let's go. So I think this balance of, her and I is really going to give them a really solid upbringing.
And they're good kids.
Sometimes.
How old are they?
3 and 1.
Oh, wow. Do you guys think you'll have any more children?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We're going to fill a school bus.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? We have Ocean's room has at one point it had 3 beds. Right now it has 2, and it could fit another bunk bed. So I'm like, we can at least have 4. And then they can all share a room. They can figure it out. Unless we have a girl, then she'll probably want her own room, and then we're gonna have to rethink everything.
And how do the 2 of you handle any arguments or disagreements?
We don't argue or disagree on anything. What are you talking about?
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. We have plenty of that.
I think here's the truth. I think it drives Carlos nuts. But we'll argue, and I'll want to like pray about it or like somehow bring it back to like, all right, well, why don't you like take time to like speak with God? And he's like, no, we're good. Why do you do that? I just want to have this conversation right now, because he wants to end it there and right then and there and figure it out. I like to take time to process it and to think about it. So we operate very differently in those kind of like when it comes to confrontation. And it is a struggle sometimes to balance that, because I want to be able to respect how he feels, and he wants to respect how I feel. So it's always like a balancing act, finding that happy place. And I feel like it's like that in any marriage, but it's so cliche, but communication is super, super key. And we're learning every single day how to better our communication and how to lift each other up and build a great foundation.
Yeah.
And do you think that your faith also guides your parenting styles?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely.
That was awesome. What are some things that like you might do with like your sons that is faith-based or is definitely because of what you believe in?
I think that's honestly where a lot of my patience comes from and a lot of grace. It's interesting because before you become a parent, it's so easy to like judge other people or judge other parents, and then you become a parent and you're like grace just starts growing and extending to so many people, and I think in every scenario, not just parenting situations, just because it's hard. Like, how do you have the patience when you're so tired, you just need sleep, you're trying to, keep a baby happy, you're learning how to even keep a baby alive. Like, it's just your whole world has just been rocked in a really good way, but it just everything at once. And I feel like, I look at my relationship with God and sorry, I'm kind of all over the place, but there was this moment I was playing with Ocean and I was just trying to get his attention, and he was like looking at all his little toys. I think he was only like 1 at the time, and I just wanted him to look at me. So finally I had to like start putting away his toys and remove all the distractions until he looked at me. And then he started playing with me and he started giggling and smiling. And I remember the way my heart felt in that moment, and I was just like overwhelmed with joy and love. And then it hit me, like I had this feeling of like God going, that's how I feel with you. But I can only imagine that it's like a million times greater, like the joy and love that God has for us. But then it also got me thinking, going, wow, like God loves us so much that, Ocean can mess up. He could, scream or cry or not let me sleep, but I'm going to love him so much regardless because I have that grace and I have that patience with him. And I just felt like, oh, that's like literally how God feels with us. But I don't want him to have to remove the distractions for me. I want to be able to remove the distractions myself so that I have that relationship with him and I've made space for him. So I know that was like a really big answer, but
No, that was good, and it makes sense too, the way you kind of connect the dots to, like, just something so simple, playing with toys, to getting his attention back on you. So,
exactly.
I mean, that was a great answer.
Thanks.
And, okay, so again, I just bragged about this interview to all my friends to make them jealous. And one question that just kept coming up was everyone wants to know how you came up with the name Ocean.
So that was Los.
Yeah, we were on a sailing trip in the middle of the Caribbean, and we were, back before we had kids, we used to adventure a lot. And this was we rented a catamaran. Alexa and I know how to sail, and we just sailed for 2 weeks. And she was like, I think what 3 or 4 months pregnant.
4 months pregnant.
4 months
'Cause it was right
pregnant.
before we announced.
And we were just, sitting out there, and we were just, kind of talking, and we're like, okay, cool. What if we were convinced that it was a girl, and we said, what if it is a boy? Like, we need the coolest name so that, it's just perfect. And we're sitting there on the ocean. I'm looking at the ocean, and I'm just like, what about Ocean? And it was like an immediate, like, yeah, a boy named Ocean. How cool is that? And yeah, I mean, it kind of just happened, but it was such a cool moment. And like a couple of Alexa's sisters and or sorry, one of her sisters and some of my friends were all on the boat, and we kind of just, hey guys, we have an awesome guy name, for a boy, Ocean. They were like, that's awesome. And I think having their kind of approval, and just the moment of being like in the middle of the ocean, just like witnessing God's incredible work. No cell phones, no nothing. It just all felt right.
Yeah.
And then we found out it was a boy, and we had the coolest name ever, and it was just like, okay, Ocean it is.
That's awesome. Yeah, because it's so rare and it's different, but it's not crazy different like a lot of Hollywood kids' names
Yeah.
are. And it's awesome that there's like this really significant meaning behind it as well.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the ocean and it's so peaceful and beautiful, and like the feeling that it brings you is incredible, but it's also incredibly powerful and strong and vast, and I just loved how it can bring two cool feelings together.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And so how do you guys balance your work, your marriage, and being parents?
Well, not lately, but we just made this decision that we're not going to take projects separately. And if there is a project that we're not necessarily working on screen together on, we will be working off screen. We will be there for each other regardless, I guess, if that makes sense. So if I'm shooting a movie, Carlos will come with me. We'll keep the entire family together. No one's staying home. It's super important. We see too many families separated and then fall apart. And the kids need both parents. You know, the statistics show the importance of a two-parent household. And, you know, in our industry, in the entertainment industry, it is hard to do that. So we've just made it a rule and we've stuck to it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you guys are also setting a great example for your children too, because children see, you know, what goes on in a household, and then that they take that, you know, to school or to their outside lives as they get older.
Absolutely.
So you kind of give your fans a little bit of insight of your Hawaii life on your YouTube channel. Can you tell us about what inspired that project for you guys?
Yeah, I started it, a handful of years ago, but it was because I was tired of kind of being a slave to
The industry.
the industry. I mean, I can't stand as actors that, we're just like, it's like audition and wait, and our future is literally in somebody else's hands. It's somebody else's opinion if we're good enough. It's somebody else, it's their opinion if we're the right look for their project. Like at the end of the day, I wanted to have more control of the stuff that I was putting out. So Alexa and I started doing these, awesome, just kind of just like talking into camera, and then it kind of evolved into like a vlog like thing. And, now it's currently evolving into something else. So we have no idea what it is, but it's, I just God is just evolving and evolving, and evolving. And, I was afraid to take that leap, but I heard something today, and I wrote it in my notes, babe, that I sent to you, and it says, hold on, what is it right here? No, I think I texted it to you. Hold on, this to me was just right here. Hold on, it's totally worth it. It's totally worth it. Oh, sometimes we may be waiting on like a stop, right? But God is waiting for us to take a step, right? So I think that whole thing was like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And I just felt like God was telling me, yo, just do what you got to do. Like create your own content, take that step. And since we, have taken that step, it's just it's been evolving and evolving and evolving. And to me, that's what's so exciting. Like had I not taken that step, we wouldn't, have this little channel that we have, and a way to, share God's love and our life. And it's such a unique time that we're in, that we have these, these different medias to go out. And I mean, look, I'm literally in Hawaii, and you are wherever you are, and we're talking, and it's working, and now somebody else is going to hear this, and that message is going to get spread on and on and on. Back in the day, if Paul wanted to spread a message, that dude had to, take a boat, right? Walk,
Yeah.
take a donkey.
Yeah, he couldn't just send a text.
Right. And it's just so cool that we have this ability now to just put it out there.
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely thought that too when I came upon your YouTube channel, that you wanted to share your own story, because as you said, I mean, gossip magazines and blog posts, they take over, and it's because people want to know, are their favorite celebrities like them, and you guys give that to your fans without, what do you say, like damaging your own reputation, like you said, you took control of the narrative. So you're showing your truths.
What's interesting is at the time we were getting approached by a few different networks to do a reality show. And, their ask was, okay, well, we just want to know like what other family members are there? What will like the conflict be? And we just thought that was so weird. Like how, like, if you really think of reality, it's so produced, it's so silly.
Right.
They want the conflict, they want the drama. And look, that happens in life naturally. That is what it is. But it just really actually pushed us to go, we should do our own vlog without all the junk that these producers want. And it's basically like the reality show that, can be a positive light.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you guys have control over it too. So there's not someone staging a fight between you guys or telling you to do something with your child that you probably normally wouldn't have done.
Exactly. Oh, sorry.
That's
Hold on.
right.
Hi, baby. Did Kingston wake up? Yeah. Oh, should I go get him? Yeah. Okay, I'm coming right now. If you just give me 1
Okay,
minute,
I'm here
gonna...
though, so if you
Yeah.
want to keep going,
Can
I'm
we-
here. If you want to wait, it's all good.
Can we leave that in here? Because that was
Yeah,
adorable.
you can leave whatever you want in here. Oh man.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Because that kind of leads into this next question is how do you guys find time for your faith between work and everyday lives? Do you spend time alone with God or do you spend time with him together? Maybe both?
Yeah, it went back and forth. Over the years, we've learned a lot. There are definitely seasons where we were so overwhelmed and consumed and allowed our alone time with God to get pushed aside, and you could totally see it in the seasons that we were going through, because there was more struggle, there was less peace, and God is always right there. Like he's ready to pick up where you left off. So instead of feeling guilty that maybe you haven't been speaking to him as much, or that your relationship with God isn't where you want it to be, you can absolutely pick up where you left off and just be like, God, like, I am sorry, but I am here and I just want a relationship with you. And I feel like we went through a couple of those seasons before we found really good balance. When I came to the realization that, when you become a parent, it is so tough because your kids need you all the time, that actually getting a quiet moment alone with God is very, very rare. But I realized, like, there are moments where, yes, go, like, be on your knees, talk to Jesus, like bring Holy Spirit in. That's fantastic. But there are also moments where you should just have conversations with God. So even while I'm washing the dishes, I'll be talking to God. While I'm folding the laundry, I'm talking to God, because I know, the day is a little crazy, but God knows my heart. God knows my passion for him. And he's not going to go, oh, well, you're doing the dishes, so I don't accept how you're speaking to me. No way. Like God just wants a relationship the way that I talk with Carlos, the way that I love my husband. I don't have to absolutely stop everything to have a conversation with Carlos that's meaningful. Like, a lot of the conversations that we have is actually in the middle of chaos. Like, one of my favorite moments in our marriage, both kids were throwing a fit. I mean, Ocean was having a tantrum. Kingston was screaming. And we were in the middle of a shoot in Vancouver. So we've had, like, we're operating on no sleep. We had a 15-hour day on set, and we're both standing in the kitchen of this apartment, and it's completely chaotic. And we just look at each other and we hug each other. He just holds me. And it was like we were holding each other for 2 minutes. And it's one of my favorite moments because, like, amongst all the chaos, the craziness, the exhaustion, we were still a team. And it didn't have to be this, like, crazy romantic moment. Like, that moment was so powerful in itself. So,
And that was the moment that we decided to go on the cruise alone.
And okay, so just to kind of jump down a little bit, what advice would you give to other people who are struggling to balance their faith with their careers?
I think, oh, this is so good. I think you have to ask yourself at the end of the day, am I representing the kingdom? Dada. Am I representing the kingdom? Am I representing God the way that I'm supposed to? That doesn't mean you have to go out and be a pastor. That doesn't mean that you have to go and suddenly work for the church. But are you being a representation of what he made you to be? And it doesn't matter what industry you're in. You could be bagging groceries. You could be, working at a fast food restaurant, but do it joyfully. Do it in hopes that, your smile might just be what somebody needed that day. This one time I was driving and this person cut me off, and I was like, oh my gosh, that person was such a turd. And the lady sitting next to me goes, hey, instead of saying that person's a turd, why don't you pray for them? Because maybe they've never had anyone pray for them in their lives. And I was like, oh, convicted. That's a good like reality check. But so for me, I would just say make sure that everything you do it intentionally, with his intention. I hope that makes sense.
No, it does. Okay, so I've got a question for Carlos.
Mm-hmm.
It's very serious, all right?
All right, I'm ready.
What is your favorite Spy Kids movie?
You know, I got to be honest. I feel like I only really know the first one.
Wow. I think I can call you a third. I think I can officially say.
I think the first one. I mean, that one I like actually know. 2 and 3. Alexa doesn't even like 3.
But I love the second one. 2 is my favorite.
Yeah, and then 4. Alexa was in, like, she's barely in it, so I never saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very disappointed when I found out my parents weren't secret spies. I felt like I got ripped off there, but
Why did you get it down?
And then for Alexa, another serious question.
Okay.
What is your favorite Big Time Rush song?
Yes. I hands down can say Lost in Love, because as we were both falling in love with one another, Carlos wrote that song. So Lost in Love for sure. And I remember when he sent it to me, just being like, oh my gosh, because we had not said I love you yet, but he sent me the song and he was like, I wrote this for you. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Did you guys dance any Big Time Rush songs at your wedding?
No.
Why? That's such a miss. Why did we not?
Come on. I mean, that was it.
Backstreet Boys.
Yep.
And karaoke Backstreet Boys.
I do remember at one point, because we didn't like know the DJ, it was just like a hired DJ, and he asked us like what kind of music we wanted, and at one point he started playing some like raunchy bad music, and I remember like looking at Alexa, and I ran as fast as I could up to the DJ booth, and I was like, turn this off.
Yo,
you gotta stop. And he like just like literally just pulled the plug. He's like, what? I'm like, dude, you can't. It was some guy in Mexico. And I was like, dude, no, you can't. And then like he like puts on a slow song, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is just, it's fine. It's gonna be okay.
He was nice. He didn't feel the crowd.
Yeah. So any last comments for our listeners and readers out there?
You know what? Just like, well, one, thanks for listening to this long interview. We have a lot to say. I posted this thing recently, and I think Carlos did too. There's so much happening in the world, and guess what? 10 years from now, there'll probably be other stuff happening, but never let your emotions override your faith in Jesus. And I think that's a huge and important quote that us as Christians really need to live by. Like, do not allow your emotions to override your faith.
That was Carlos and Alexa PenaVega. To read Michelle's full interview with Carlos and Alexa, check out www.thewarcry.org. That's going to end this episode of the Fight for Good podcast. Be sure to subscribe to Fight for Good wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to follow The War Cry and Peer Magazine on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. Until next time, this has been the Fight for Good podcast. Bye for now.
Subscribe to Fight for Good wherever you listen to podcasts.